Don't forget to like and subscribe, and share your opinion down below. Today's stories are from the subreddit r/am I the a-hole. Check the description for the links and timestamps. Am I the a-hole for kicking out my best friend after she confronted me about my terminal condition? A little backstory here. I, 27M, was recently diagnosed with a terminal condition, a form of advanced brain tumor which, unfortunately, was not identified at the right time. My sister, who is currently in Australia, is the only family I have. Okay, so now to my best friend. Beth and I have been inseparable ever since we were in elementary school. For over 20 years, we have been there for each other through the best and worst parts of life. She is, for all intents and purposes, my second sister. Beth has been seeing this guy for the past 1.5 years, and got engaged 6 months back. For the past 1 year, I've almost lost all contact with her. We did speak occasionally when our group of friends gathered together, but that was it. There was only one video call on New Year's where she hinted that her fiancé did not like her friendship with me, and that for maintaining her relationship, it would be best to go our separate ways. I agreed, and decided to respect her decision. Fast forward 4 months later, and I had hit rock bottom after being diagnosed. I turned to my sister for emotional support, but due to the distance, it was difficult for us to interact constantly. She's currently in quarantine, so it's not possible for her to travel anytime soon. I did not tell Beth about my condition as I was still apprehensive about our conversation on New Year's. Incidentally, my sister is best friends with Beth too. In fact, it was always the three of us since childhood. And Beth eventually found out about my condition, and came up to my house yesterday. I was surprised but happy to see her, and asked her what brought her here. She went into a fit, screaming at me about how devastated she was to learn about my condition from someone other than me, how I was being selfish by not telling her anything, and that I had disregarded our practically lifelong friendship by hiding this from her. At this point, all the frustration that had built up in me for the last few months came bursting out, and I called her out for painting me as selfish, when it was actually her who had cut contact with me. I told her that I made a mistake by thinking that she would always be there for me. After almost 10 minutes of accusations being thrown around, I asked her to get the hell out of my house and never show me her face again. Am I the a-hole for behaving the way I did? Now for some comments. What? Did she forget the relationship ending chat from New Year's? It's just frickin' bizarre for that to be her reaction, and your reaction was completely understandable. OP, you are not the a-hole, and I'm sorry that things went the way they did. You really need some love and support right now. I wonder if, once the dust settles, you could call her and try to start that meeting over? Maybe you really are done with her, and if that's the case, just let it go. I mean, reconnecting just to have anybody to talk to wouldn't be fair to either of you. I sincerely wish you the very best and pray that you'll find comfort and support. Keep on keeping on. I'm sorry you're going through this, and on top of it having to deal with an unsupportive friend. Not the a-hole, she asked you keep your distance and you did. Then when she finds out you have a terminal condition, instead of asking how you're doing or how she can support you, she blows up. I personally would also be hurt that she pushed aside a lifelong friendship, not because there were problems in your relationship, but because the guy she is with is insecure. Going off that, I would be wary of her fiancé if I were in her shoes. I don't understand why a person who loves and cares for me would want me to distance myself with someone who is essentially family. They seem selfish, and I wish you all the best. It sounds to me as if it's guilt talking on your friend's part. She most likely feels devastated and sorry about the time she had missed with you, and it came out as lashing out at you. You're not the a-hole for getting angry. You are obviously going through a lot emotionally as well as physically, and what you need is support, not to be made into the bad guy. I'm so sorry to hear about your diagnosis. Hopefully your friend can reach out more rationally and the two of you can reconnect in a supportive way. Am I the a-hole for shutting my ex-husband down when he called me out on not inviting his daughter to my daughter's birthday party? Ex and I share Belle, 10, together. We divorced when she was 1. He and I didn't see eye to eye after that, but I always did my best to be friendly, polite, etc. when around him and later his wife. She and I had our issues though from very early on. The big one being me not asking her to babysit Belle whenever I had something come up, and for not sending Belle to her after school. She worked from home. My parents had always expressed an interest in being after school childcare and I was more than willing since my girl got time with her grandparents. But this pissed ex's wife off and crap built up from there. I still do my best to be civil but it's not easy. X has a daughter with his wife who is 6 and I have a daughter with my husband who is the same age. X's daughter has given mine a hard time for 2 years now almost. I got her moved into a different class halfway through kindy but they ended up in the same class again this year, which wasn't so bad since COVID meant they were educated mostly at home. They started going back to class in February and it was hard on my youngest. The whole issue between the girls has been heavily argued, with them saying my husband and I are expecting them to do too much when we expect them to get their daughter to treat ours better. It actually brought us back to court twice because X's wife was trying to put Belle in a tough spot of being mediator and I wanted that shut down super fast. Her birthday is coming up soon and she wanted everyone but X's kid at the party. She gets along with the class but not X's kid. So I emailed around invites to the other parents. X found out about it because a couple of other kids were talking about it during summer classes and well, X was pissed and his wife was pissed. He started calling me out yesterday afternoon and I shut him down. I told him it wasn't my fault, he was okay with his kid treating mine like crap and I wasn't going to make her invite someone who treats her badly. X called me an asshole. His wife sent me a text saying I was an asshole. And my sister told me I should maybe have handled it a little better because we still have to co-parent Belle, etc. And cutting him off doesn't help. Am I the a-hole? Now for some comments. Not the a-hole. Point out to them it has nothing to do with child being yours. We simply don't invite bullies to parties. Maybe there is too much emotion and blame involved for them to see that. Also consider, if the child doesn't treat anyone else in class school poorly, the root of the problem is what is discussed in front of those children that should be kept to the adults. On both sides, you guys all have a lifetime of intertwined relationships. It's a shame it's ugly now, as when all these girls age, teen tween girls can be so mean. It will be even more difficult. I guess there is no way anyone wants to adult and hit some family mediation sessions to make peace? Not the a-hole. Absolutely not. Your role as a parent is to protect your child. Also your kid has the right not to have a mean kid at their party. If the other kid's parents and school are not doing their jobs properly, your role is even more important. Is X's kid mean to other kids? Can you ensure they are kept separately from now on? Is there another school your child can go to without inconvenience? Sounds like your ex and his wife are in denial or embarrassed and lashing out rather than dealing with the real issue at hand. Not the a-hole, you always put your own child first. Look, we all know that kids won't always be friends with each other even if you want them to. The moment your daughter starts telling you that they don't get on, then you have to listen to her, and so should her dad. I would say just because you're related in some way doesn't give her the right to be mean to your daughter and still be expected to be included when she wants to be. Am I the a-hole for refusing to attend my sister's wedding and not forgiving my mom for being the reason we hate each other? So, my parents divorced when I was around 11 and my mother was awarded sole custody of me and my sister. My dad got partial custody of my 2 brothers. Around the time they got divorced, my sister stepped forward and claimed that my dad had initiated an inappropriate relationship with her. The courts ruled in my mother's favor and we were forced to live with her. My mother is unfortunately a raging narcissist with terrible money and men habits. This rubbed off on my sister. She is 4 years older than me and was treated like a princess after everything came to light with what happened. Honestly, I don't really blame my mom for feeling like she failed her, or anything like that. But then she started to go overboard. It started out small, as it always seems to do. First it was all about making my sister happy and keeping her that way. She had her own bedroom, while my brothers and I were relegated to share one until I got too old to do that. Then it was, Parties and social life stuff. My sister had 4 phones by the time she turned 18. My older brother and I were each told that if we lost the one phone we were given, that we would not be getting another. I had that stupid Nokia brick until I turned 21. A few years back I finally realized how much more she was willing to do for my sister than she would for me, and I moved out. She would always deny that she ever loved one of us more than the other, but I had a decently long list of times she proved to be a hypocrite about this. Highlights included the time she dropped several grand on prom night for my sister but refused to take me shopping for my dress and then forced me to order something cheap online later because I want to see both my daughters go to prom, and if you don't choose I'll buy something for you. Forcing me to help move my sister into her then boyfriend's apartment. All is to say that I really resented my sister for the way my mother treated her. She wasn't without fault either, though. She was a cruel and heartless person who would pick at my insecurities and faults. My mother pushed us to have a relationship with each other and I hated it. Oftentimes she would send me off to do chores and things she was supposed to do. They called me Cindy around the house and joked that the only friends I had were the mice. I cut most of my family off about 4 years ago, but one of my mom's friends got into contact with me about 2 weeks ago and asked if I could give them my address. When I asked why, they told me that my sister reached out to them and asked for it so she could send me a wedding invitation. I told them I wasn't really comfortable with it, but I felt terrible. I know my mom really messed up and didn't help the whole thing, but I also still resent my sister for being the golden child and treating me like she did. So would I be the a-hole if I refused to go to my sister's wedding because I resent my mother's actions? Now for some comments. Not the a-hole. Going to the wedding will only allow abusers back into your life. Work through that guilt that is programmed in your system from the manipulation and not needed. Taking care of you is your #1 job. Do not let people back in your life that don't support you being your best. They will use that door to bring you down and mistreat you again. Not the a-hole. Don't give them your address and don't go to the wedding. She'll probably expect you to do a bunch of work for her wedding. If she has kids, she'll expect you to be her free babysitter. She hasn't changed and your mother hasn't either. They haven't tried to make amends with you. They're probably worried about how it'll look if you don't go to the wedding. But you're finally free now. Live your life and don't let them be a part of it if you don't want them to. Not the a-hole. Don't attend. Your sister has had her whole life to notice the disparity in treatment from your mom, to take up for you as an older sibling should, and to make amends for her cruelty, heartlessness, bullying. Further, no daughter should be treated like Cinderella, and no child should be spoiled to such an extreme degree, even if she was abused by your father. This would only result in your mother and sister ganging up on you in one form or another. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the story as much as I did. Don't forget to add me on Twitter, and check the shirts I post on Teespring if you're interested. Links in the description. Until next time.